Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we live? Looks like everything is working. Looks like nobody's here yet. Okay. Let's see what we got going on here. Let's check the news first. Looks like we don't have any news until 5 p.m., but let's see what happened earlier. We had CPI at 7:30. Unemployment or employment change is at 6:30. Oh, that's Australian. Unemployment rate for Australia is also at 6:30, but that doesn't affect us too much. So really the news for the day is pretty much done. Tomorrow, looks like we have unemployment at 7:30. And Fed Chair Powell speaks at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So tomorrow might be a decent day. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. The hourly looking bearish. Delta's under the confirmation line. And on the 15, almost looks like it's ranging. Let's pull up the 15-minute chart quick. Hey, good morning, Garrett. All right, this is the 15-minute. Yeah, the confirmation line's almost straight down the middle. So those power zones are those entries on the 15. It's looking like we might be breaking out of a range with that news this morning. We'll see. Go back to the 1 minute. So for 15, I'm going to call that neutral. And on the 5 minute, let's see. Let's pull up the 5-minute chart. The 5-minute looks a little rangy too, with the slope of that confirmation line being relatively flat, kind of near the middle there. We've been below it, we've been above it. So power zones are probably going to be where it's at on the 5-minute as well. I'm going to go ahead and mark the 5-minute as neutral. There we go. And let's go back to the 1. On the 1 minute, looks like we have some chop in here. Not seeing anything too enticing on the 1 yet. We had that strong push, the news at 7:30, and then it kind of fizzled out. See if it dropped back down to this order block here. Yeah, it looks like it, so far it's found some support over there. We'll see if it holds. James Bennett, good morning. Really interested in trying the Delta indicator. Do they offer a free trial? You know, I don't know if they do. That would be a good... I think the Zeiierman group, if you join it, I think you can join it for free, and you could probably ask in there. I don't think they have a trial, but they might. Yeah, I would join their Discord and ask them. Got a little bit more chop setting in here. Potentially. We'll see. But yeah, everything kind of looks ugly, to be honest with you. We have chop on the hourly. We have that thin spotty delta. The 15, we've had some chop. 5, we've had some chop. It's just been kind of indecisive. Go ahead and turn my 8 SMA on and notice how that's another way you can look at chop when you're above it and below it, above it, below it, when it's just chopping straight through that 8. Those aren't really the best trading conditions when it's doing that. How long have I been using the Cumulative Delta? At least 2 years now. Yeah. It's been a lot of trial and error and testing out different rules and setups. But over the last couple years, I basically honed in on a set of rules that is detailed out in the playbook. Have you checked out the playbook yet? But I've basically been through a lot of different strategies, and over the last few years, I've tested a lot of different methods, and I always end up coming back to the Cumulative Delta. I think it's one of the best strategies for sure that's out there, the best tools, I guess I should say. There's a lot of setups and strategies in the playbook, but you still have to be the one to decide which ones to use. Awesome. Looks like we're losing that support right there. The Delta is gaining some strength to the downside now, breaking outside of my chop box. Now, I just got back to my desk, so I haven't been able to take any trades yet, but if we look back and we just kind of analyze this, the confirmation line does have more of a negative slope to it, and we do have a second tick down from the red zone right here, which is like a lower high. So if you're looking for, you know, Well, actually, that's a pretty big move there. Actually, it's like 30 points down to the order block. So you still could have made money on that, depending on your exit strategy. If we look at this tick down from the red zone here, even there, yeah, still could have got 30 points out of that one too. So, you know, the setups in here are really solid. If you're looking for smaller targets, you can usually hit those all the time. I tend to want to go for the bigger moves. It's still debatable whether or not that's the better strategy. If you're looking for smaller targets, those are a lot easier to hit, and you can hit those all day long. And you know, you don't really need a lot. You can shoot for smaller targets and up your position size and just trade less, get a couple wins in, and be done for the day. So in the 5 minute, we're back under that confirmation line. Looks like the delta is starting to taper a little bit on the 5. Still looks pretty choppy on the 15 and on the hourly. Now, if you're going strictly off the slope of the delta, for there's different ways to determine your bias on the higher time frames. The slope of the delta is probably the easiest, most straightforward way to do it. So if you look at the slope of the hourly, that's definitely negative there. It's bearish. If you look at the slope of the 15, it's more flat. I guess you'd say flat to positive. You could take the, those lower points of the curve and line those up. It's a slightly positive slope on the 15. So you could almost say that that's positive, but I'd say it's more neutral. And then the slope of the 5 is, at the moment, it's more negative. So you could go and say that's bearish on the 5. However, it's still, it's pretty close to the middle there, so I still kind of consider that more neutral, as long as it's kind of ranging the way it is. I should probably point this out too. Do you see this tick down underneath the delta here, which normally you would call that a delta squeeze? This is not a squeeze because it doesn't occur in the upper power zone there. So you kind of ignore those. In order for it to be a squeeze, it's got to be up in that zone. Still kind of just chopping around though, that The price actually closed back above the 8 again. Looks like maybe we might get on one side of the 8. Hopefully. And get a decent move in here. I'm actually kind of surprised it's not moving more from the news earlier, and we don't really have any other news today, so at least not that I know of. If there's some other news I'm not aware of. Put in a lower high on the signal in the green zone with the delta still headed down. So James, are you a part of the Zeiierman group, or have you joined the group yet? Oh, cool. What strategies have you been trading so far? Or have you? Delta starting to turn positive. We are getting a tick up above the delta. That is bullish. I would like the delta to have more of a positive slope at that point, but if you want an early entry, you could try to grab the 8. Or wait for the slope of that delta to go positive. It's probably safer to wait. Delta's starting to go negative again. Yeah, she's looking like she wants to push down. There's our next lower high forming on the signal. Delta's gaining more strength to the downside. But it is in the green zone, so it's more risky to take a short there. So I'm going to wait on this one. Tend to trade reversals when negative positive delta is very high back into liquidity. Are you using a regular cumulative delta right now? Is that how you found the channel? Are you able to see delta absorption? Not sure what you mean by that. What do you refer to as delta absorption? My wife just told me that Bitcoin was almost 92. I haven't even looked at that. Let's check that out. Sweet. Yeah, it got up to 91,900. Should actually mark this because my bot got me back. My bot got me in here. See this dotted line on the bottom? When the signal ticked up near this lower power zone, my bot entered a position there, and then it entered another one right here. So go ahead and mark those out. My previous one, I got in here, and when it ticked down below the delta up here, that's where it got me out at 87,788. So those are looking pretty good. $15 starting to turn more bearish with that thicker delta candle there. Used to use Bookmap. You can see where the delta was high, but also for signs of reversals. Yeah, I know there's a lot of guys that use Bookmap. I personally have not used Bookmap. I've seen a lot of people use it on live streams, and to be honest, I've liked the simplicity of the cumulative delta better. Just by gauging the slope and the size of these delta candles. I'm not really sure how they are calculated. Zeiierman has a proprietary algorithm that he uses to do that. So it's kind of a black box. All I know is it works pretty well. So still headed down. See this series of lower highs on the signal? Even though it's in the green zone, looks like those still would have worked pretty well. If you were taking the green zone entries, that would have been an entry there. This second lower high here, that looks like that would have played out as well. Now you did have, looks like 69 ticks of drawdown on that one though. Try to get them without any drawdown, but that's part of trading, having some drawdown. Now we're starting to accelerate. So the delta candles are getting thicker. Still has that that negative slope to it. Wish it would have gave me a cleaner entry. That was in the red zone. But we will be patient and wait for the next setup. I just turned my pivot lines on. We do have a pivot right here. Those tend to be pretty good reaction points. Sometimes I use those as a take profit point. So we had a delta cross here in the lower power zone. I think I touched on this a little bit yesterday, but usually, or I used to have a rule where I always bought those. The first cross that occurred in a power zone, I would always buy those because those are actually pretty good entry point. It's not really detailed out in the playbook, but looks like in this case that probably would have worked as well. So you could have entered here. And then also with confluence being on that pivot point, that's not a bad one there. It's just usually a little safer to wait for this delta to start building this positive slope on it. Keep in mind you're under this confirmation line, so if it really wanted to go into a trend, if you start buying those delta crosses, you're gonna get chopped up a little bit. So it's better to wait for this positive slope and then wait for signal to come down and tick up right above the delta. For example, there you can see that the delta was high and primed for a reversal. Yeah, and with that pivot point there. Also, another thing that you see a lot, this is not detailed out in the playbook, but a lot of times I trail wicks. So say I was in, say I got into this lower high tick down right here. Once it started moving, I would start trailing the wicks. So it'd be, lower wick there and then here. And usually on a move like that, on a pivot point, as soon as it breaks the wick, that's usually a good reversal point right there. Now it's super simple. It doesn't look like it should actually work that well, but it actually works pretty well. Not detailed out in the playbook though. But until this delta gets back above that confirmation line, I'm still going to be looking for shorts here. Once this confirmation line kind of gets around in this power zone area, and it gets really close to the delta, then shorts are, I guess you'd say, the probability of those playing out actually gets to be a little bit less because it gets really turbulent in those areas where it turns. So you really want to be in the short from the move up here from when the confirmation line is, that's actually not a great example because confirmation line never really made it up to the power zone. But that's ideally where you want it, like up here. So you want to be in a short from like this area and you want to ride it down to this area, and then once the delta gets back above, this is where you'll start to see some turbulence and it's going to want to start pushing back up. And in this case, you can see there's still some winning shorts in there, but once it gets back above, then you really see that push back up. So that's the risk, is that if you try shorting in this area, you could run into some turbulence. Jwaz, good morning. Did you have a late night last night? Is that why you're joining late here? All right, so the signal, it barely made it into the red zone and ticked down. Technically, that's a short. I prefer if it pulls up a little bit higher. So if you took that, you'd be in right there. And keep in mind, this, like, once you start getting that positive slope on the delta, those are a little bit more risky to go against the slope. $8.30 bed, not at all. Just been watching gold. How's gold doing? I haven't even looked at it today. Did you see Bitcoin's over 90K? That's crazy. Nice volume on that too. Big sell-off on gold, huh? Yeah. Looks like it's... bulls are trying to step back in. But yeah, still pretty bearish. All right, Delta's turning positive. We are getting a tick up here. So this is potentially... we're also getting a tick up on the 5-minute from the power zone. Delta's tapering a little bit on the 5-minute. I'm going to go ahead and attempt a long here. Long at 111.50. Now my ATR, gotta keep in mind that it's that green number on the left there, it's over 76. That's pretty high. So my 80 tick stop might not be enough. I basically use that so that I know how to size my position appropriately. If it's too high, I tend to size it down. And that number there, that's actually just, it's just 4 times ATR is what I use. I want to see that delta start to gain some strength. It's really thin still, so this might just kind of fizzle out here. Yeah, now it's starting to turn negative again. And I got stopped out. Right on the end of the wick. So yeah, my 80 tick stop was too small. Yeah, the Delta just didn't have any gusto. The bulls are trying to step in now. A little too late. Too late for me, anyway. Use another indicator, free indicator by Trader's Reality. It gives your candles relative volume in clouts. Shows where the market makers step up or step in to manipulate price. It's worth checking out. I haven't heard of that one, but yeah, I could check that out. Signal is now in the red zone. We might get a tick down here. Delta's still negative. It might roll over, but it's also right there trying to cross that confirmation line. All right, looks like that delta is trying to roll over. We are getting that tick down now from the red zone. Delta strength is still pretty strong to the downside on the higher time frames. I did not take that short because the delta's, it's looking like it wants to cross the confirmation line, so I'm just kind of sitting tight here. I'd feel better if it was a lower high. Lower high on the signal, that is, not the price. Bulls are trying to push it up, but that delta is still really weak. And that's what you want to watch for. You want to take advantage of a weak delta. We are getting some thin alternating colors in the delta though, so I got to mark that off as chop so that we're aware that this could just chop sideways from here. Meaning the market is indecisive. We are getting a lower high with that weak delta. I'm going to try to take advantage of it. Delta also has a negative slope to it. Delta candles are gaining a little bit of strength. I am short from here. We're also sitting right on top of that pivot, which doesn't help. And we did tick up there. This is what I was talking about, that turbulence in this area here. And I got stopped out there again. We got our third lower high in the red zone, but after 2 losses, it's hard to pull the trigger again. And those were my full 80 tick stop losses. That hurts. Usually I don't hit my 80 tick stop, but the ATR is just so high right now. It's hard to make that work, especially when you're in that chop market condition. Yeah, my 80 tick stop, it hardly ever gets hit. Like, usually if you guys see me do this, I exit early a lot, and I'll take small losses that are usually closer to break even. So when it hits my full stop, I don't like that. ADX is orange, yeah. My chop box is orange too. Yeah. It's funny. This is what my third stream, or third or fourth stream, and so far every one of these days has been, when I've been streaming, it's been super choppy. And as soon as I get off the stream, things start flying again. Do you have a personal account or use a prop firm? I have both. I've been more recently trying to get into the prop firm side of things. I've been trading a personal account mainly. Delta is finally above that confirmation line. See, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that the Delta was really close to the confirmation line, and so I was kind of on the fence of whether or not I should take a long or a short there because it's a pretty turbulent area. Ideally, this would have pushed down further, and that would have occurred closer to this power zone, and then those that first tick up above the delta, that delta squeeze usually works out pretty well. But I can see what's happening here. We had this trend line that it was trying to break and finally broke and retested. So is there FOMC today? Is that what I heard somebody saying? I don't see any FOMC anything today. Not on the calendar. Somebody in the Zeiierman group mentioned that, so that's why I was looking at that. The delta is nice and smooth looking now. See if it wants to react to that original order block up there. We are ticking down from the power zone. Delta is tapering. I'm going to try for a short on the 8. I just got picked up. And that one is not looking good. Man. That's 3 now. My full stops. 3 of them got hit. I don't like this. I say this a lot. I don't like that first tick down from the power zone right after we cross that confirmation line. I like to wait for a lower high, but recently those have been working, so I decided to take it. And still that, I think my 80 tick stop is just I think it's too small. Well, that usually doesn't happen to me. 3 full stops in a row. Whew. It's maybe a sign I should be done. Down 60 points. Delta has a nice positive slope to it. So we are bullish on the one at the moment. Yeah, I feel like I got robbed on that one. Now I'm afraid to jump in this lower high. You know what I'll do? I'm just going to size down. Size down and see if I can make back what I lost. Yeah, I feel like I totally got robbed on that one. Now see, if I didn't use an 80 tick stop and I actually put my stop above the high there, I would have been fine. Would have been safe. The ATR is just so high right now. I wonder what gold is looking like. Gold looks choppy. All of this right here is nasty. So it's not looking much better. Ticking up from the green zone, but we're back in this choppy delta. Those are no fun. So how are you guys doing? Are you doing better than me today? Have you taken any trades? Bitcoin's 92K. Yeah. Wow. How soon until you think we hit 100? It's got to go about 8.5% to hit 100. Your break even? Well, that's good. That's better than me today. You know, that's the other problem I'm having starting late by, taking my kids to school is usually puts in a decent move and then it's been doing a lot of this sideways nasty chop lately. Earlier, catching this would have been awesome. Just a nice impulsive move in there. But after that move, it's just been kind of nasty ever since. Had almost a 10K candle this week, yeah. Yeah, now that Bitcoin broke out of that massive bull flag, I mean, who knows how far it's going to go. My mom was actually, she's been complaining for the last 6 months because she's been in like a Bitcoin ETF. And she just kept complaining that it's not going anywhere. It's not doing anything. So I think she finally like threw in the towel and started putting more money in NVIDIA. She's been making some money on NVIDIA, but now that she's out of there, or I think she's out of there, she might still be in. But yeah, now it's finally moving. If you go back and look at Bitcoin on the weekly, I mean, it's just a very obvious flagpole here. There's your flag. There's your trend line. And now we're running for the races. So, and with it consolidating as long as it did, I mean, this could really, really take off. I know a lot of people kind of measure from the base to the top of the flagpole. Put it down here to see how high we're potentially going to go. Let's see what this says. That is saying 106K. You measure from the base of that flag. If you measure from the actual breakout, saying 125K. Be interesting to see what happens. I wonder how XRP is doing. Oh, it's another one that my wife has been an XRP fan for a while, but it hasn't really been doing much. Now it's starting to get some legs to it, a little bit. Minimum 120. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, NQ is still looking ugly. That delta is not going anywhere. We do have a third lower high, though. I mean, a second lower high. In the red zone. It's technically short, but we're chopping, so it's more risky. Still chopping that 8 SMA, too. I'm assuming your ADX is still orange. Still orange on the 5 and the 1. Yeah. Yep, I'm just going to sit out unless I see something really good. For now, anyway. Hey, do you guys know a good AI app for writing a song? Like I have the lyrics, but I want something to make me some music. Good morning. All right, yeah, I'll ask ChatGPT. I already I already asked ChatGPT to write some lyrics and it wrote some already. Now I just need some music. Yeah, that delta's still chopping, so there's still not much to do here. All right, ChatGPT says I can use Suno AI, Udio, Super Music AI, AIVA, Artificial Intelligence Virtual Artist, MuseNet by OpenAI. Wow. Almost 93K now. Should probably be watching that instead of NQ. It's more fun. Well, it's 9:59, so maybe the 10 o'clock candle will kick things into gear here. Until then, it's not much we can do. Other than write AI songs. Hmm. Looks like we're building somewhat of a wedge pattern here. So maybe it'll move after we break out of that. Looks like we're breaking down from that wedge pattern, which I'm not surprised with all these lower highs that we have in here on the signal line with the weak delta. We'll see if we can get some follow through with it. Still no entry for me though, so I'm sitting out for now. I'm gonna go ahead and flip the 15-minute to bearish, since that delta is still pretty strong heading down. It's under the confirmation line. Even though on a, if you look at it from a bird's eye view, it's more ranging. So technically it's probably more neutral, but we'll flip it to bearish. Restarting my other computer here, it got locked up when I was trying to get on Google, and I was having DNS issues. Google wouldn't even load. Looking at the 5-minute, we are getting a little bit of a delta squeeze over there. We're ticking up above the delta. The delta is positive. It doesn't have a positive slope yet, but that might change here pretty quick. Delta's still above the confirmation line on the 1, so technically the 1 is more bullish than bearish. We also have this positive slope on the confirmation line, which tells you that it is more bullish. So we should be looking for longs. It is risky though, since we have been chopping. Price just is not going anywhere. Delta looks like it's trying to perk up here on the 1. It's getting more momentum, more strength into that Delta candle. Starting to build more of a positive slope on the Delta, which makes sense after it tried to break down and reversed right away. That Delta is about to break outside of my chop box. So hopefully we're going to be done chopping here pretty soon. Delta's finally outside of my chop box. So things might start getting good here again. It's been a pretty boring morning though so far. Well, there's not a whole lot going on here. Not sure if I should just hang out here on the stream or end it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yeah, I'll probably just hang out here for a little bit, see what happens. We finally getting a rejection, a lower high on this power zone. There might actually be an entry here. Let's see. The delta is tapering. We're in that upper power zone. Delta's looking pretty weak. So far, we have not been able to get above that order block there. We'll see if we officially get a lower high here. Yeah, you know, with the other streams, as soon as I quit, that's when things got really good. So maybe I'll just hang out here for a little bit, see what happens. You know what they say, patience pays, right? All right, we're getting that lower high officially now. Well, it's not official until this candle closes. But the delta is turning negative, where it's kind of a fine little pencil point there. We're also getting an engulfing candle here. The ATR has actually come down a little bit with all this chop. Might go ahead and take a stab at this short here. $124.50. Still looks like my 80 tick stop isn't quite enough, but we'll go with it. Now we just need to see that delta start to round over. Keep in mind we are kind of going against the grain here though with that positive slope on the confirmation line. So things are more bullish at the moment, but it's been having a hard time actually making a bullish move, so maybe it'll have an easier time making a bearish move. We want it to stay under that 8 SMA. It looks like we barely closed above it. Not a great sign. Don't even tell me this one's going to take me out too. Come on, market. Yeah, this is not looking great here. This is actually a impulsive move breakout entry here for a long. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the plug here. I haven't done it yet. Still a chance this could pull back a little more. All right, I pulled the plug. So that is another loss. Not my full loss, but it was close to it. Now see this delta candle, it's thicker. And we still have this positive slope. So technically that is a impulsive move breakout entry from the playbook. We go ahead and try that since the bearish move ended up failing. What did I lose on that? 17.5 points. This is shaping up to be a terrible day for me, but we'll see if I can have a good comeback. You know, these broadening formations always seem to get me, where you're making these higher highs and you're also making these lower lows. Those are always tricky. And it happens a lot. Trying to see if I see another one in here. No, not recently. But yeah, those can be tricky. So far, so good on this one, though. We're finally above that order block, so be nice if we can shoot all the way back up to the highs. That would change my day around. If we can get up to this pivot point. Let's see. If we can get up there, let's see what that is. That would be 134 points. That would put me back in the green. We are printing a lower high in the power zone. It's not official, but the delta's still ramping up pretty nice, so I think I'm gonna sit tight on this one. Not gonna take profit. Let's see if we can power through this pivot line. I am going to move my stop to break even though. Come on, market. Give us a decent move. I'd like to see it just retest this order block here and then start moving back up. It did close under the 8, which is not a great sign. If you were looking for 27 points, you would have got it. 27 or less. We're going to try to hold out for this one, though. I'm still in. Now, if we get a tick up and then a tick down with that delta rolling over, then I'm definitely going to pull the plug, and I'll probably flip short at that point. If you look at the higher time frames, delta's turning positive on the 15. On the 5-minute, the delta's been rolling up, but we do have the signal line in the upper power zone, so we have to be aware of that. If you get a tick down from there, that could be bearish. We've got to get back above that 8 SMA. Delta's looking better. Still ramping up. Delta candles are getting thicker. Can it power through? Let's see. All right, the delta is starting to lose some steam. We are getting a tick down underneath. If it closes this way, I got to pull the plug. So hopefully some buyers start stepping in here. There we go. Now it's pulling up. Come on, buyers. Let's go. No? Buyers don't want to go? hopefully we're just kind of flagging out here. We do have a bull flag technically. There's your flagpole. We do have the consolidation for the flag. It's really close to my break-even stop though. But I'm going to assume this is a bull flag and try to just hold on to this one. Either that or it's going to be a break-even. And it just took me out. Break even on that one. Here is our negative delta. That's the technically a short signal. What I don't like is how far this is from that delta, right? Or the confirmation line and the delta. How you have all that space in between. These setups tend to work better if those are closer together, near that power zone. So still might end up working for a short. You know, if you're looking for a smaller move, and you took that lower high delta squeeze, it did go 16 points. If you're looking for 10 points or so, you definitely would have had it. You know, sometimes it's hard when you're in one side and you see the setup for the opposite side. Sometimes it's kind of hard to exit and switch because you want the trade that you're in to actually work out. If I would have switched there, I still would have been a winner. Would have got 5 points on the long, and the short definitely is playing out. This is going back to that broadening formation. It's the same thing. Do you see how it's making these higher highs? So now that this is failing and it can't expand higher, you can expect the price to come down and take out this low. So if you did take your short signal on there and you're looking for this broadening formation, you could target this lower low of the broadening formation. If you were targeting that, you would have got it. Let's see what that would have been. So here's your short. That would have been 28 points, 28.5 points. Yeah, sometimes when you're holding out for the bigger move, you kind of pay the price if it's not gonna run. Sometimes you're better off just going for the smaller targets. Actually, I would argue that probably more often than not, you're better off doing that. See how it ran down and hit that trend line right there? That's your broadening formation. We did tick up from the lower power zone. I didn't see much tapering though, so I didn't take it. Delta's definitely tapering now. Yeah, that tick up from that lower power zone, that would have been a good trade. There just wasn't any tapering in that delta candle there, so. But I mean, look at this move. It's another 50 points right there. And if it comes up to this upper trend line on that broadening formation, I mean, that's 80 points right there. Yeah, that was the move there. Bottom of that broadening formation. Well, it turns out the afternoon, well, it's not afternoon yet. Lunchtime. Lunchtime is turning out to be the best part of the day so far. We did make it back above that pivot line. See if it could hold. We did end up taking out this high though, right here. So it could be a reversal area there. Ticking down from the upper power zone. Delta was tapering a little bit there. I ended up going short on that 8. I went short on the 8 because we ticked down from the top of that power zone and the delta was tapering there. And because we took out that previous high. So we want to see that delta continue to taper down and round over. Still looks pretty strong though. On the 5-minute, the delta is crossing the confirmation line to the upside. So that's actually bullish on the 5. If we close above the 8, I'm going to pull the plug. All right, I'm out. Small loss on that one. We'll see if we get a delta squeeze here. Delta is thinning out again, starting to turn negative. I haven't officially ticked on yet, but we're waiting for it. Bitcoin's still looking pretty good. All right, is that delta going to round over now? Starting to turn negative. We are ticking down under the delta, near the power zone. This is a delta squeeze setup. But it also looks like a bull flag, so we'll see how it goes, but I have to give it a try. And the bulls are starting to step in, so no delta squeeze. Not yet. Yeah, see how we have a long pole here? We have our flag. It's kind of at a 45-degree angle. We got our tick up. So that's potentially a bull flag breakout there. I'm not going to take it, though. Bull flag breakouts near that upper power zone. I don't know. They have a high failure rate, so I'll just wait for now. Starting to get a lower high in the upper power zone. We're no longer under the delta, though. Still might be a valid short. It's not ideal. Did any of you guys catch that tick up from that lower power zone? That, so far, was like one of the best trades of the whole day. And this delta squeeze setup here, that was good too. But you see how this delta does not want to round over? It's just the slope is continuing to rise here. If it starts to thicken up and we get a tick up, it might be a good long opportunity. Or maybe it's finally starting to roll over. See, it's losing steam though. It's really skinny. At least it is for now. Okay, now it's... Buyers are starting to step in a little bit. Yep, now it's starting to get thick. So that could be a bull flag breakout here that I might be interested in taking. If we can get that tick up on the signal line. I went ahead and took that. I took a early entry right here. It is lunchtime, but we were chopping all morning, so hopefully lunchtime will be good. That delta is thickening up, and it's still rising. That's what we want to see. There we go. Now we're getting some buyers stepping in. We did get a tick down. I'm going to go ahead and start trailing wicks. Come on, buyers. Let's push it up there to that next pivot. It's 102 points if we can get there. Excuse me. And I got taken out right here. 19.5 points. That delta's still looking pretty strong. So it still might continue to run up. I just needed to get a winner on the board, so I started trailing wicks. Now she's running. On the 15, the delta is actually going back above that confirmation line, so I will go ahead and flip that back to bullish. On the 5-minute, we're back above the confirmation line, so that's going to be bullish too. On the hourly, we're still just kind of chopping. Actually, on the 15, we've pretty much been chopping too. Just kind of nasty. Actually got a little bullish divergence here. Price is making higher high. And the signal line was making a lower high. So this might pull back and kind of regroup and then go back up. Delta's actually starting to turn negative here, almost negative. It's really thin. I will be right back. Looks like that little bearish divergence would have been a decent trade down. Delta is crossing under the confirmation line, so we'll see if that's temporary or if we're going to start turning bearish now. Delta is starting to taper though, so I sense there's a long opportunity coming up here. Went long here on this tick up. Reason why I went long is because the delta was really tapering down and we ticked up from the green zone. So ideally we want to stay above that 8, the 8 SMA, the white line. And if we tick down here, I will be exiting the trade early. All right, small loss on that one. Looks like 3.5 points. If we get a higher low and tick back up, I'll probably jump back in, but I like to keep those losses small. Well, my win rate today is pretty terrible. All that chop was pretty nasty earlier. And you know, you go through that chop and you kind of get gun shy on taking other setups. It's like this one over here. I should have taken that from that lower power zone, but at that point I was gun shy after those other losses there. All right, JWaz, we'll see you later. So the signal might still come down here somewhere, tick up near the power zone. That would actually be more ideal if it would do that. And if the delta still looks really thin, I'll probably jump back it along. Or if we get a higher low here. Starting to get that higher low. The delta is turning positive. So I'm backing along. We do have to be on the lookout for this thin and skinny delta though. That means chop. Yeah, if we start setting into more chop here, I'm probably just going to call it be done for the day. Unless we can break out of this little chop area here. Still want to see this run back up to this pivot up here. So if we can hit that, that'll be it's like 86 points. Might be kind of hard to do over lunch. We're putting in a lower high on that signal again. But we are in chop, so when we're in chop, that signal can start to look like Charlie Brown's t-shirt. Starting to put in another higher low, potentially. I am starting to see the delta starting to turn up a little bit, so just need a little bit more follow through. Let's go put in that higher low and have some more buyers step in. Delta looks like it's trying to round up now. Can it do it? Can it pull through? Come on, Delta. Let's get back above that confirmation line. Delta starting to turn slightly negative again. We really need this to push here pretty soon. There we go. Come on, buyers. Now, you always want to ask yourself what you should do if things turn and if there's a setup in the opposite direction. Got to keep in mind we are under that confirmation line. If there's a tick down from the red zone, we might potentially have a short setup there. However, in order for that to be a good short setup, you want that delta to be to have a negative slope. And right now it actually has a positive slope. So even if it ticks down right now, I don't think I would necessarily go short unless I start to see a lot of negative strength in that delta. As long as that delta stays positive, I'm going to keep looking for a long. But yes, it is definitely garbage price action. Most of today has just been nasty. It is not ideal trading conditions, that's for sure. But I know with NQ, it loves to chop for half the day and then get good the second half of the day usually. And that's why I'm a little more optimistic right now, because we have been chopping almost all morning. It really just is struggling to go though, isn't it? We do have these two higher lows under our belt though, so hopefully that gives us a little wind in the sail to push it through. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're looking at fair value gaps, you know, we do have a fair value gap in here that we are reacting off of, and so if we tick down from there with the delta still under the confirmation line, that still could be a short setup there. We are ticking down. The delta is still really, it's very weak. I went ahead and exited right here and flipped short. Because we did get that tick down from that, wasn't quite in the upper power zone, but it was really close. And we were really struggling to get up there, so after reacting off that fair value gap, this could push down a lot easier than it was trying to push up. This is actually a good setup that I look for. Is you wait for the step one is for that delta to cross under the confirmation line, and then you be patient and wait for the signal to get back up there near that power zone and tick down. That's in the playbook actually for the short. I was hoping that we could push that long through there, but it just wasn't happening. So that's another break even. On that last trade. Looks like the delta's finally starting to roll over a little bit here. Maybe we'll get some follow through. There we go. Starting to see a little bit more movement. Getting a tick up from that green zone. Yeah. Garbage price action. The chop box is still chopping. And I got stopped out on that one. Yay. It was looking good, and then wham, hits you over the head. Well, guys, I think it's probably time for me to throw in the towel. Today has not been a very good day for me, so there's always tomorrow. Tomorrow will hopefully be a better day. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here, go get some lunch, and we will see you guys